It was a regular Saturday morning when my phone buzzed with a text from my sister Angelina. Nothing unusual about that. But what she was about to ask me would change everything I thought I knew about my place in this family. See, I had just discovered something on Facebook the night before. Something that made my stomach drop. My entire family was planning a cruise to the Caribbean. Everyone was invited. Everyone except me. And somehow they still expected something from me. Before I get into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever felt like the invisible member of your own family, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you are going to want to stay for this one. What happened next changed everything I thought I knew about my place in this family. Let me take you back a bit, so you can understand how I got here. My name is Marcus, and I am 30 years old. I grew up in a family of 5 in a small town in Ohio. There is my dad, Harold, my mom, Patricia, my older brother, Brandon, who is 40 now, my sister, Angelina, who is 36, and then there is me, the youngest, the quiet one, the one who never caused any trouble. From as far back as I can remember, our family had a very specific dynamic. Angelina was the princess. She was the only daughter, and my parents treated her like she hung the moon. Everything she did was celebrated. Every accomplishment was a big deal. When she got into college, they threw a party. When she got engaged, they rented out a restaurant. When she had her first child, you would have thought royalty had been born. Brandon, being the firstborn son, carried the weight of expectations. He was supposed to carry on the family name, succeed in business, make our parents proud. And he did for the most part. He became a regional manager at some company, married a woman named Stephanie, and settled into a comfortable life. And then there was me. I was the easy one. The one who did not need attention, the one who got good grades without anyone noticing, the one who graduated from college with honors and received a polite nod from my parents while they were busy planning something for Angelina. I learned early on that my role in this family was to exist quietly and help when needed. These days I work as a software engineer. I have my own apartment about 45 minutes from my parents' house. I am single not because I cannot find anyone, but because I have been focused on building my career and figuring out who I am outside of my family shadow. Despite everything, I always tried to stay connected to my family. I showed up for every holiday. I bought gifts for my nieces and nephew. I answered every call even when it was inconvenient. And I helped. God, did I help. Angelina has 3 kids now. Lily is 7 and full of energy. Ethan is 5 and has a set of lungs that could shatter glass. And then there is little Noah, who is just 18 months and needs constant attention because of his food allergies. Over the years, I have watched those kids more times than I can count. When Angelina needed a spa day, I was there. When she and her husband Derek wanted a romantic dinner, Uncle Marcus was on duty. When they just needed a break from parenting, guess who got the call? I never said no. Not once. Part of it was because I genuinely love those kids. But if I am being honest with myself, a bigger part of it was because I kept hoping that if I helped enough, if I showed up enough, my family would finally see me. They would finally appreciate me. They would finally treat me like I mattered. That hope is what made the discovery so painful. It was a Thursday evening, and I was scrolling through Facebook while eating leftover pizza. I was not looking for anything in particular, just mindlessly passing time. And then I saw it. A post from my mother. She had shared a picture of a cruise ship brochure. Not just any cruise, a Caribbean cruise. The caption read, "Family Cruise Countdown, 2 weeks to go. So excited." My heart stopped. I read it again to make sure I was not seeing things. Then I looked at the comments. Brandon had written, "Cannot wait, Mom." Angelina had added, "The kids are so excited." Even Derek had dropped a heart emoji. I sat there staring at my phone, pizza forgotten. A family cruise, 2 weeks away. And I was finding out about it through a Facebook post. Not a phone call, not an invitation. A social media post that was clearly meant for everyone to see. My first thought was that there had been some kind of mistake. Maybe they forgot to tell me. Maybe they assumed someone else had mentioned it. Families are chaotic. Things slip through the cracks. I decided to wait and see if anyone would bring it up. Maybe someone would call and say, "Marcus, you are coming on the cruise, right? Here are the details." But that call never came. At least not the call I was hoping for. 3 days passed and no one mentioned the cruise to me directly. I was starting to feel that familiar knot in my stomach, that old feeling of being overlooked. Then, on Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Angelina. She sounded cheerful, almost too cheerful. She asked about my work, my apartment, whether I was eating well. The usual surface-level questions she asks when she wants something. I waited, my heart beating a little faster with each passing second. Then she got to the point. "So you know about the cruise, right? Mom and Dad are going. Brandon and Stephanie are going. Me and Derek, obviously. It is going to be amazing. 10 days in the Caribbean." I stayed silent, waiting. "Anyway," she continued, "we were wondering if you could watch the kids for us. It is just 10 days. You are so great with them and they absolutely love their Uncle Marcus. Lily was just asking about you the other day." I could not believe what I was hearing. Let me make sure I understood correctly. The entire family was going on a cruise together. A family vacation. And instead of inviting me, they wanted me to stay behind and babysit 3 children for 10 days. I asked her why the kids were not coming along. She laughed, and there was something dismissive in that laugh. "A cruise is supposed to be relaxing, Marcus. We need a break from the kids. You understand, right? It is hard being a parent. Sometimes you just need adult time." I wanted to say so many things in that moment, but instead I asked a different question. I asked her why I was not invited on the cruise. There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could almost hear her brain working, trying to figure out how to spin this. "Well," she finally said, "you know how it is. Tickets are really expensive. And you are single, so we figured you would not enjoy it as much. It is more of a couple's thing, a parent's thing. You would probably be bored." I pointed out that I could pay for my own ticket. I have a good job. Money was not the issue. She brushed past that. "The booking is already done, Marcus. We cannot really add anyone at this point. Maybe next time. But seriously about the kids. Can you do it or not?" I asked about Brandon. He was going on the cruise. Why was being single an excuse for me, but not an issue for the family in general? "Brandon has been going through a lot lately," she said, her voice taking on that condescending tone. "I know so well. He really needs this vacation. And his wife is coming too, so it is different." That was the moment I started to realize the truth. This was not an oversight. This was not a mistake or a miscommunication. I was deliberately left out because my presence was not valued. I was not a family member to them. I was a convenience. A babysitter on call. The invisible son who would always say yes because he was desperate to belong. Angelina kept pushing. "Come on, Marcus. Mom is really counting on you. We all are. The kids love you. You are the only one we trust with them." I told her I would think about it and hung up. That evening, my mother called. I knew it was coming. Patricia has a way of applying pressure that is almost impressive in its manipulation. She did not yell or demand. Instead, she used guilt. "Marcus, honey, you know how hard your sister works. She is raising 3 children. She deserves this break, and those babies adore you. They would be so happy staying with their Uncle Marcus." I noticed that she, like Angelina, had completely ignored the elephant in the room, so I asked her directly, "Mom, why was I not invited to the cruise?" There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice had that slight tremor she uses when she is caught off guard. "Oh, sweetie, we just assumed you would be too busy with work. You know how demanding your job is. And someone needs to watch the kids. We thought you would be happy to help." And there it was. The truth wrapped in a flimsy excuse. They did not forget to invite me. They intentionally excluded me because they had already planned for me to be the childcare solution. My presence on the vacation was never even considered. My father texted me later that night. "Son, family helps family. Your sister needs you. Do the right thing." Short, blunt, and completely lacking in self-awareness. I sat alone in my apartment that night, thinking about all the times I had needed my family, and they were nowhere to be found. Last year, when I had the flu so bad I could barely get out of bed, I called my mom to see if someone could bring me soup or medicine. She said she was busy with Angelina and the kids. I recovered alone. When I moved into my current apartment, I asked Brandon if he could help me carry furniture up 3 flights of stairs. He said he had plans. I hired movers and did it myself. Every time I needed them, there was an excuse. But every time they needed me, I was expected to drop everything. That following Sunday, I went to my parents' house for our usual family dinner. I told myself I just wanted to see everyone, to observe, to figure out what I was feeling. But the moment I walked in, I realized I was walking into a celebration I was not part of. The whole family was there. Brandon and Stephanie, Angelina and Derek, my parents. The kids were running around the living room, and all anyone could talk about was the cruise. They were discussing cabin assignments, which restaurants on the ship had the best reviews, what excursions they wanted to book. My mom had printed out the full itinerary and was going over it like it was the most exciting thing in the world. I sat at the table and listened. No one asked my opinion. No one acknowledged that this conversation might be uncomfortable for me. No one seemed to notice that I was sitting there in complete silence while they planned a vacation I was excluded from. Then Angelina slid a folder across the table toward me. Inside was a detailed document. The kids' schedules, their favorite foods, NOAA, dietary restrictions, emergency contact numbers, nap times, bedtimes, screen time limits. This should be everything you need, she said, not even looking at me. NOAA pediatrician number is on the second page just in case. Derek leaned back in his chair and grinned at me. You are going to have your hands full, buddy. 3 kids for 10 days, good luck. He laughed. Brandon chuckled along with him. My parents smiled like this was all perfectly normal. I looked at my older brother, waiting for him to say something. Anything. Some acknowledgement that this situation was unfair. But he just reached for another dinner roll and kept chewing. Then it happened. The moment that broke something inside me. Lily, my 7-year-old niece, looked up at me with her big innocent eyes and asked a simple question. Uncle Marcus, why are you not coming with us on the big boat? The table went dead silent. Everyone froze. Forks stopped mid-air. Conversations died. For a moment no one knew what to say because no one had a good answer. Because there was no good answer. Angelina recovered first. Uncle Marcus has to work, sweetie. He cannot come. But Lily was not satisfied. She turned back to me. But you could ask for vacation days, right? My friend Emma Daddy does that. I looked into that little girl's eyes and I saw something there. She was confused. Even at 7 years old, she could sense that something was wrong. She could see the unfairness that the adults had chosen to ignore. I could not sit there anymore. I pushed back from the table and said I needed to leave early. I made up some excuse about an early meeting. No one stopped me. No one asked if I was okay. They just let me walk out the door like I did not matter. I drove home in complete silence. No music, no podcasts, just me and the sound of my own thoughts. That night I did not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying my entire life in this family. All the birthdays where I was an afterthought. All the holidays where my contributions went unnoticed. All the times I bent over backward to help people who would never do the same for me. I thought about what my coworker Grace had told me a few months earlier. We had been grabbing coffee and I was venting about another situation where my family had taken advantage of me. She looked at me with this serious expression and said something I have never forgotten. You teach people how to treat you, Marcus. If you keep saying yes to everything, they will never respect you. At the time, I nodded and filed it away. But lying there in the dark, those words finally sank in. The next morning, I called my Uncle Raymond. He is my dad, younger brother, but the two of them are nothing alike. Raymond moved to California years ago, partly to get away from the family dynamics. He was the only one who had ever really listened to me. I told him everything. The cruise, the babysitting request, the folder full of instructions. Lily questioned at dinner. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then he spoke. Son, love is not supposed to feel like this. Real family does not make you feel like an outsider. Real family does not only remember you exist when they need something from you. He told me that setting boundaries was not selfish. It was necessary. He told me that I had spent 30 years trying to earn a place at a table that was never going to be offered to me, and he told me it was time to build my own table. That conversation changed something in me. For the first time in my life, I felt a quiet sense of certainty. I was done begging for scraps of attention. I was done being the reliable backup plan that nobody actually valued. I was going to say no. The next day, I called Angelina. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. I am not going to be watching the kids, I said. There was a stunned silence on the other end. What, but you always? We are counting on you. That is the problem, I replied. You only count on me when you need something, but I do not count at all when it comes to being part of this family. She sputtered, her voice rising. You are being so selfish right now. What are we supposed to do? Figure it out. The way I have always had to figure things out on my own. Her tone turned threatening. Mom and Dad are going to be so disappointed in you. I almost laughed. They have been disappointed in me my whole life, Angelina, no matter what I do. At least this time I am not disappointed in myself. I ended the call. Within an hour my phone was blowing up. My mom called first, crying, asking how I could do this to my sister, to the family. She said I was abandoning them. She said she never raised me to be so cold. I let her finish. Then I said, Mom, I love this family, but I cannot keep being the person you only remember when you need something. That is not love. That is convenience. My dad called next. He was angry, not sad. He told me I was being ridiculous. He said family is supposed to support each other. I asked him when the last time was that anyone in this family supported me. He did not have an answer. I did not yell. I did not lose my temper. I simply held my ground. In the end, they had to hire a professional nanny service for those 10 days. Angelina complained about the cost constantly. She even made a passive-aggressive post on Facebook about how some family members cannot be relied on anymore. She did not mention my name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. I did not respond. I did not engage. I simply blocked her posts from my feed and moved on with my life. While they were cruising through the Caribbean, I booked my own trip. Nothing fancy, but something I had wanted to do for years. I spent a week in Colorado hiking through the mountains, breathing fresh air and clearing my head. I took pictures of the sunrise over the peaks. I ate at small local diners. I met other travelers and had real conversations with people who did not know anything about my family drama. I posted a few photos not to prove anything to anyone, but because I was genuinely happy. Uncle Raymond texted me one of those mornings. Just 2 words, proud of you. For the first time in 30 years, I understood what it felt like to put myself first, and it did not feel selfish at all. It felt like freedom. When the cruise ended and everyone returned home, there was an awkward tension in the air. No one called me right away. The silence stretched for weeks. I did not reach out either. I figured if anyone wanted to talk, they knew where to find me. Eventually, my mom broke first. She called one evening and her voice was different, softer, less demanding. She asked how I was doing. She asked about my trip to Colorado. She did not apologize directly, but I could tell something had shifted. Angelina is still angry. She makes little comments when we are in the same room, but there is something different in her eyes now. She knows she cannot push me around anymore. She knows that Uncle Marcus is no longer available on demand. As for me, I have been focusing on building a life that does not revolve around waiting for my family approval. I joined a hiking club. I have been meeting new people, making real friends. I started going to therapy to work through years of feeling invisible and unworthy. I am learning that I do not need my family validation to know my own worth. I am learning that boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors that let me choose who gets access to my life and my energy. My relationship with my parents and siblings is slowly being rebuilt, but it is on a new foundation now, one based on mutual respect. I show up when I want to, not because I am guilted into it. I help when I can and when it is appreciated, not because it is expected. And if I am ever excluded again, I know exactly what I will do. I will take myself on another adventure. Looking back, I realized that the hardest part was not saying no to my family. The hardest part was realizing that I deserved better and finding the courage to demand it. For 30 years, I waited for them to see my value. Now I understand that I needed to see it first. I do not hate my family. I am not angry anymore. Everyone is doing the best they can with what they have, even if that best is not always good enough. But I refuse to be the forgotten son, the convenient babysitter, the invisible member anymore. I found my voice, and I am never going to lose it again. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where your family expected you to sacrifice while they enjoyed the benefits? Have you ever felt invisible to the people who are supposed to love you the most? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, please take a second to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you are not subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you do not miss more stories like this one. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share this video with them. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I hope this story reminded you that your worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice for others. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be valued. You deserve a seat at the table, not just an invitation to serve. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.